And joining us on the program right now, I'm very pleased to have with us former Texas State Representative Suzanna Gratia Hupp. And Representative, thanks for coming on the program tonight.
How the heck are you?
I'm good. It's been a while since we've had the opportunity to talk.
Yeah, not too long, but it's good to hear from you again.
Well, it's good to hear you on the program. Now, I got to ask, were you in the House in 2003 when the redistricting issue in Texas blew up and the House Democrats in Texas fled to Ardmore, Oklahoma?
Yes, I was. It was a lovely time in my life. Yes, as we pulled out the cots and twiddled our thumbs waiting for our Democrat friends to come back from Oklahoma.
So as you watch what's going on in Wisconsin, do you have any advice for the legislators who are actually still there?
No, I wish I did have some good advice for them.
Find a comfy chair, something?
You know what is truly amazing to me is that all of those teachers are out there thinking that this is a good thing. And what they haven't thought about is that this can work in reverse. You know, if the tide turns 5-10 years from now, it can work in reverse for them. Those men and women that have skipped the state should be there doing their job. Sometimes you're not in the majority party, and I've been there too, and it sucks. It sucks not being in the majority party, but you still show up for your work. It's what the people hired you to do.
Absolutely. Well, Representative, you've been showing up around the state of Texas talking about right to carry, and you were recently, were you at the University of Texas in Austin?
Yes. Yeah. When was that? Oh, my God, I'm going senile. Last night? The night before? Whatever the heck it was.
I think a couple nights ago, talking with students from concealed carry on campus or students for concealed carry on campus. And there was actually a really good article in the Daily Texan. We've seen some kind of biased stories from the student media on this issue. But
Tim,
this
the
one
only
actually
thing
pretty
that
fair.
disappointed me about it was that, and they did their best to get some people from the other side of the debate, the other side of the argument, to show up, and they didn't. And that always disappoints me because I like speaking to the other side because sometimes I win some of them over.
Yeah. Well, I think it's easy to, Susanna, when you are able to actually talk and get past the typical talking points, and frankly, your personal story affects people when they hear what happened to you, when they hear what you went through in 1991, when you watched your parents killed in front of you, and you wish that you had that firearm of yours so that you could have protected yourself and them. It has to make people stop and think.
Cam, unfortunately, it's a sad testament to the fact that emotion oftentimes wins the day. Whether you're a representative, whether you are in the government, whether you're just a regular person or an activist, people like to think that they make their decisions based on logic. But I think the fact of the matter is most people don't. They make their decisions based on emotion. Now, we'd like to have those statistics to back it up.
Mm-hmm.
But truthfully, most of those people do base it strictly on emotion. So the fact that I am, and I hate this word, but the fact that I am perceived as a victim, I think sometimes that makes some of those people at least listen to me. I get my foot in the door.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, absolutely. And I know that you've spoken several times with Nikki Gozer in Tennessee.
She's awesome.
She is awesome. And you're right. And the last time that I was talking with her, actually, she and Dr. John Lott were in studio, and I asked Nikki a question that I'll ask you as well. Did you ever think about blaming the gun? Did you ever think,
No.
if this person didn't have a gun, if our laws had been different, then maybe this wouldn't have happened?
No, because you have to realize, at least in my situation, I had carried a gun here in the state of Texas illegally. I was talked into it by an old patient of mine who was an assistant district attorney in Houston. He talked me into carrying my weapon illegally. Of course, as you know the story, I had stopped carrying it because I was worried about losing my license to practice. And we could not carry legally here in the state. I was immediately angry. I mean, genuinely, immediately angry. And anybody that doubts that can go look up the the interviews that were taken with me, days after the incident. I was angry that I wasn't allowed to have my gun with me to protect myself and my family. And I wasn't the only one. There were a number of people in there that either lost their lives or lost loved ones that had guns out in their cars that couldn't have them with them.
Yeah. And at what point, Suzanna, did you decide that you were going to, I guess, channel that and to try to make a difference politically, to get involved in politics?
Well, honestly, I don't think it was immediately a conscious decision. I had opted to speak with the media almost immediately because I realized that, you know what, you guys have to do a job. Regardless of whether or not a victim will talk to you, you have to report the news. So I realized that pretty much immediately, and I thought, they're going to report what they have to report, and if they get it wrong, we can't blame them if we didn't give them any information.
Yeah.
So myself and my family immediately decided that we were going to talk to the news, and that we were at least going to give them our side of the issue. Cam, in my book, that I think you had a copy of it at one point, I have a whole chapter dedicated to this, dedicated to dealing with the media and dealing with the legislature. And I think it holds true for whether it's a gun issue or any of our other rights. It helps regular people deal with the legislature.
And what's the most important thing that we can do, Suzanna, in terms of again getting that good relationship with our legislators?
Ooh, big question.
I mean, as somebody who's been on both sides here, the letter writer and the letter receiver.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. I have been on both sides. I've testified in front of congressional committees, and I've also been one of the people on the dais listening to testimony. Gosh, if I had to pick one thing, Cam, particularly when it comes to your state people,
yeah,
have a coffee for the guy or woman. When they're running for office, it doesn't have to be a big deal. People think it has to be a big fancy deal. It doesn't. Particularly when somebody is running for office for the first time, they are thrilled to death if you can have 10 of your friends over to your house or over to your backyard for literally coffee. And you invite you invite the candidate over. They have an opportunity to speak to a dozen or hopefully a dozen or more. The more people, the better, obviously. People that are likely voters. And I cannot tell you how many times I have had people vote for me, and this is almost a little unsettling.
Yeah.
I've had people come to me and say, "Oh, I just love you. I voted for you because you shook my hand at Walmart."
Really?
Yeah.
Not because of where you stand on anything.
Nope. Had nothing to do with any of it. It was because I was polite to them and I was nice to them somewhere. And that's what a lot of people, and like I said, I grant you, that's unsettling.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact of the matter is, if the people that are listening to you right now that care about their rights, if they can have a bunch of their friends over that are maybe not as strong-willed or as strong-minded politically,
mm-hmm.
but they can have them over to meet a candidate, those people are going to vote for that person. Almost guaranteed, at least 80% of them, I promise you, at least 80% of them. If that candidate's a decent person at all, they're going to vote for that person. And I have seen, I can't tell you, countless statewide races that have come down to a handful of votes. And when I think about it, we can talk about the Gore-Bush race.
Mm-hmm.
Came down to a handful of votes in one stinking county in Florida. So your vote counts. It counts. It matters.
It does. Absolutely. I actually, my congressperson or my congressional race was very, very close this last time around. Less than 1,000 votes between the winner and the runner-up. And this was it was one of the first times. Actually, it was the first time, Susanna, that I went and I knocked on doors for my candidate, who again ended up losing by less than 1,000 votes. And all I could think of was, there were a lot of other doors that could be knocked on. There were a lot of other forms that were waiting, for somebody to pick up and start taking around. And if we had only had, a few more people, if I had only done a few more hours, then maybe could have made up the difference. You're right. Your vote absolutely does count, and I don't think anybody should think anything differently.
And I will tell you that, you probably have some listeners that think, 1,000 people, that's still a lot. But I'm going to tell you here in my state, in Texas, the state representatives generally represent about 100, just the representatives now, not the senators.
Yeah.
The representatives represent about 150,000 people each. Now, that varies dramatically from state to state, okay? But here in Texas, about just a representative, about 150,000 people. I have seen several races over the last 15 years that have come down to 10 or 12 votes.
Wow.
That close. And let me tell you why that affects you. I know you know this, but I want your listeners to understand this. What that means is that your vote might be the difference in that person winning or losing, and that person at some point is involved in the congressional redistricting.
Mm-hmm.
That means that they affect the makeup of the federal guys. And boy, if that doesn't have an effect on your overall health and well-being, shall we say?
Yeah, in many ways, in so many ways. In fact, ways we didn't even think possible just a few years ago. It has an effect on our lives. Representative, I hate to do this, but because I could talk with you for the rest of the evening, but we are simply out of time. Will you come back on again very soon?
You are awesome, and I'm happy to come back on anytime you want me.
All right. Representative Suzanna Gratia Hupp, thank you again for coming on the program tonight, and we look forward to doing this again very, very soon.
Thank you. Y'all have a good night.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Always love talking to Suzanna Gratia Hupp.